Hey everyone, it's Dr. 𝗵𝗲𝗃𝗀 and welcome to another episode of the Flex Audiology Show. So in the last couple of videos, we have been talking about hearing loss and how it's linked to dementia and how much that risk can increase as your hearing loss increases. So today I'd like to cover where that information comes from. And so there's been a few major studies over the past 10 to 15 years that really changed how researchers looked at cognition and hearing and brain health. And so let's jump right in and talk about that. So before these studies came out, I mean, obviously hearing loss is a normal part of aging. We know that hearing loss starts somewhere around 32 to 34 years old, and doctors really focus more on heart disease, strokes, genetics, when they were studying dementia patients. And so hearing loss simply wasn't part of that conversation. And today we know, yeah, that makes sense. We want to talk about the hearing. We want to talk about vision. Those are two senses that stimulate your brain activity. And so the very first big wake-up call was really around 2012. That's kind of where we start looking at more the landmark studies. So this has been around for actually quite a while. And one of the most influential studies came from a physician led by Dr. Frank Lin. Sidebar, Dr. Lin now works for Apple. So probably going to be some interesting things coming out of that relationship. So what happened in Dr. Lin's study is that they tested people's hearings and then they followed them for really many years. And then they tracked who developed dementia, who developed cognitive decline, and then they also looked at degree of hearing loss in those studies. And that's when they determined that people with hearing loss were more likely to develop dementia. And the worse the hearing loss, the greater the risk. So you really could say that that was probably one of the first main studies that came out. And we were pretty excited about this as a profession because intuitively we understood the link, but to actually have research that backed up what we felt we knew all the time was really helpful for all of us. And so then you started to get replication. So United Kingdom came out with stuff. United States, they started duplicating studies. And why that matters is because while one study is interesting, when you start to have more duplicable research studies, now we start to see a pattern. Now we can start talking about it with more authority, more confidence, and saying this is really something that's happening and we need to start paying attention to it. And so once they looked at all the studies, there's quite a few people then that took all the studies and they did some meta-analysis with them and then analyzed tens and thousands of participants. And then they found that the association between hearing loss and dementia was consistent and that the risk increased. So we could say that and feel really confident. So why does that matter today? So if you do come in for a hearing exam, we are going to talk about cognition. We are going to talk about your brain health. We're going to encourage, if you haven't got the vision screening, go get your vision screened. If you are an optometrist and you're watching this, highly encourage you to encourage your patients to get their hearing tested. It's all about paying attention to your brain so that we can age in a healthy manner. So now, again, keynote that I've said over and over again, just because you have hearing loss, that does not mean you're 100% guaranteed to get dementia. It just means that your risk factor substantially increases, okay? So if you feel like you are starting to have hearing loss, and honestly, we tell a lot of our patients, just get a baseline. You have no idea when hearing loss actually starts. Very few people can accurately identify a mild hearing loss or identify early onset hearing loss. Usually this happens really slow, really gradually. Most patients, it's about 4 to 7 years before they even start to address the hearing after they've noticed it. So the sooner that we can identify the hearing loss, the sooner we can treat the hearing loss, and the more likely we can to mitigate your risk factor for cognitive decline. So if you have any questions, drop me a line. I love to answer them. Reach out to us. Hope you guys have a great day.